Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the airways right now on JU Dolphin Radio, we have a comedy production mogul. This guy has done some things in comedy history and in production history rather that has yet to be topped. Joining us on the airways right now, we have Mr. Walter Latham. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. We really appreciate you taking this call. You're an inspiration to me because I'm a huge fan of comedy, and you put it in my fingertips for my disposal.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Man, I've been a fan of comedy probably since I was about 7 years old.
Wow.
I don't think I knew it at the time, but when I look back at my history and things that I liked growing up, it all kind of comes back to comedy. You know, from Eddie Murphy being on Saturday Night Live to all the prior albums that I used to listen to in the basement.
Definitely.
People used to ask me, when did you know that this was the career that you were gonna, or the career path that you were gonna take? And it's funny and it sounds crazy to say, but I think I've probably known it all my life. I just never identified with it.
Wow.
Until I got a little bit older.
That's crazy. Yeah. You're behind some of the most successful comedy tours. Even before the Kings of Comedy and the Queens of Comedy, you did the Smith's Malt Liquor tour with D.L. Hughley and Bernie Mac. And I threw it back for you one time.
That was a real. I think that actually changed the direction from me being like weekend promoter is what I call them, like someone who kind of does it on the weekends but have a regular job during the week, to actually doing it for a living.
Definitely.
Because I learned how to get sponsorship.
Wow.
I never knew that people would give you money, like give it to you, in exchange for endorsement, rights to be a part of your tour, your whatever you were doing. So once I learned how to actually secure sponsorship dollars, I was able to quit my job.
Wow.
And go out and do tours instead of just doing shows every few months.
So you came from a weekend promoter, probably at a club on a Friday night, Saturday night to
I was probably 20.
20. Wow.
I did my very first concert, and I was doing tours by the time I was 22.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm 21 years old. I'm the station manager here at the school radio station, and just hearing different stories from different people coming to the station, new celebrities coming by, it shows us that all things are possible. Because at 20, you came from doing weekend comedy shows to 1997 to 1999, produced at that time the largest and the highest grossing comedy tour ever, which was the Kings of Comedy.
Absolutely, it happened real fast, and it was a ride, man. Because during the Kings, not only were we doing the tour on the weekends and breaking all those records, which I don't think any of us really knew was going to happen.
Mm.
During the week, I was in LA trying to sell it as a movie.
Wow.
And a lot of people think that kind of happened overnight, but it took 2 years to get a studio to say, we'll do this with you. We're not going to do it, but
we'll do it with you.
You come up with some of the money, we'll come up with some of the money, and we'll figure it out. But just to get that particular commitment took 2 years. So it was really,
wow.
I mean, the Kings tour was fun. It broke a lot of records. It made a lot of careers, obviously, and changed, I think, the face of comedy in a way Hollywood actually looked at black comedians.
Absolutely.
They started looking at them differently. Like Bernie could never get his own show.
Right.
Because they looked at him, the way he talked, his mannerism, his style of comedy was really hard, that. And they didn't know what to do with that. And I think Kings of Comedy opened up a lot of people's eyes that, hey, you know what? They don't have to look like this, and they don't have to sound like that.
Right.
But you can still make something work out of it. And, so Bernie made it work. Steve is still making it work,
yes.
Obviously, and Cedric and DL. So I think Kings meant more than numbers. A lot of people, equate us to just numbers, and they're like, what do you think about Kevin Hart? He's going to probably break your record.
Right.
And I think we meant more. I hope that we meant more to comedy than just the numbers.
Absolutely.
I hope people look beyond, realize the changes that came because of what we did, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of fun.
So now I got to ask you this: how, as a you say a weekend promoter or a producer, when it comes to a show like the Kings of Comedy, how do you strategically sit back and say, I want to put these guys on this tour? I know that these guys will work together, because it was a lot of heavy hitters coming from Def Comedy Jam who could have possibly been one of the original Kings of Comedy. How did you say, I want Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, Bernie Mac, and Cedric the Entertainer on my show?
Absolutely. I think that was a process that took a while, actually. I thought about it in concept as a Def Comedy Jam reunion.
Okay.
That's what I thought. Like that's how the idea even kind of started. And so when I went down that road, would I be able to get Martin to host it? Would I be able to get Chris Tucker and a couple other names to be on it? When I started making those calls and feeling that out, it was going nowhere.
Right.
It was like, ain't gonna happen. So I was like, okay, how do I do? Like, I didn't want to give up on the idea, but I had to take a different route. And what happened is I came up with the name. Like in the middle of the night one night, I just thought of Kings of Comedy.
Wow.
And when I had a name, then I said, okay, who fits that name? Who could work together? Not everybody being the exact same comic, doing the exact same type of material,
right.
The exact same type of delivery. And then I went to my relationships. I had a relationship with DL since, like you said, 90, whatever that was, early 90s. I've been doing concerts with Bernie since the early 90s. And Steve was the only person I didn't have a relationship with. But he was the only person who had his own show.
Right.
So I was like, we can get a guy who at least has that exposure along with these two guys who I know Cedric, not DL. Cedric and Steve are on the show together, and Bernie obviously can bring it every night. I put those three together. DL didn't join the tour until the fourth year, and that is definitely because of our relationship. So the first year, it was the three, Steve, Cedric, Bernie.
Okay.
Mostly because of relationship, somewhat because of marketing, like, okay, Steve and Cedric on the show. The second year, we added a person because Steve was having a tough time, as anyone would, following Bernie.
Okay.
No one could follow. It was just hard. So I asked DL, we were flying we had a flight from Atlanta to LA, and we happened to be sitting together. And I just out of the blue, and that's what I said about when preparation and meets opportunity is where you find, your success. I had no plans on adding anybody, but as I spoke to DL on that 4-hour flight, I kept thinking about Steve and his hardship that he was having. And I said, you know what? If we added a person and let Steve be the host, it'll solve everybody's problems. Because everybody would be happy.
Gotcha.
So I asked him on that flight. I said, would you do this if I put you on it? Would you do it? He obviously said, yes. And it changed his career path. And it changed everybody's path.
And I follow you. I follow you on social media. One of the things that I saw that I hope it comes to pass. You were kind of talking about a behind the scenes of what happened on the Kings of Comedy tour. Maybe it'd be a movie or a biopic, some kind of behind the scenes of off the stage. Is that something that's in the process or in the works?
I'm always working on that.
Okay.
That's another thing. We had hours to talk and days to spend together. You would kind of see about me. I always have boards. They're all over my office of things I want to accomplish. So when those opportunities present themselves, I know that it's an opportunity I've been looking for a while. But as far as the Kings of Comedy, people don't really know, and I think they would love to know what was really happening inside of what we were doing.
Absolutely.
Like I said, a lot of people just see the periphery. Sold out shows. They sold out the Georgia Dome, and they did a movie, and the movie grossed a lot of money, and that was it. They don't know how many times we almost canceled the whole tour. They don't know how many times people wanted to quit. How many times, it was just so. The movie itself almost didn't happen. It was it just almost one night in the parking lot, I was parked in my car talking to my attorney, and I was like, this is not going to happen.
Wow.
All this work, and it's just not going to happen. So, there's so many stories like that I think people will really not only appreciate, but relate to, and hopefully it can help them, like you. I mean, you're a younger guy trying to, do your thing. And I think that's how we learn. We learn by example, and we learn by, hopefully other people's experiences, but we either try to emulate what they did because they did it good and we want to do it better, or we stay away from it.
Gotcha.
Because we realize it didn't work out.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I'm definitely, I'm a huge fan. The Kings of Comedy, I watched that. I was 9 years old, and you always hear stories from Chris Rock and different people saying when they snuck and watched their comedy, they snuck and listened to Richard Pryor and Red Fox comedy albums. That was the VHS that I actually snuck and watched. So
people don't even know about something.
So I want to say thank you for that, because that was something I can tell my kids. The first comedy special that I snuck and watched behind my parents' back was the original Kings of Comedy, and then a couple of years later, the Queens of Comedy came out, which was just as successful, and I'm pretty sure some of the same planning had to go into that. What went into the Queens of Comedy for you to do a
that could be a book.
That could be a book.
So, I mean, that was very, very difficult for me, because the girl, Samore, came to me, because me and Samore, we've been friends for years, and she said, you should do a Queens of Comedy. She said this backstage at the Kings of Comedy show.
Wow.
And I'm like, who would be in it? I wasn't trying to insult her. I was just like, okay, other than you, who else would it be? And she kind of threw out some names or whatever, and, I did it really on the strength of our relationship. Again, relationships, man, is something that can't be taken lightly.
Right.
You need them more than you need money in this business to succeed. But anyway, she was like, here are the names. I checked out the names. I tried to, put something together. And the entire first tour, I think we did 22 shows. Wow. I lost money every night.
Wow.
Every night. I knew going into every week that I was going to lose money that week. The next week. But what happened was I watched the show every night. We changed the order after the second or third week. So it was Adele first, Moore second, Monique last. Monique was going second at first.
Okay.
So Moore agreed to move her spot, let Monique go last. And when we did that, and I watched that, I'm like, this show is better than the Kings. It's like better.
Absolutely.
It's better. Literally, like watching it live to me was like so much better than the Kings. So I stuck with it through that year, and then I just pulled some Don King magic. When we were at the Kings of Comedy movie premiere, the head of distribution at Paramount said, what else do you have? And I was like, I have this successful Queens of Comedy tour. We've been touring for a year. It's great, breaking records. And he's like, well, can you film it? Can you put it on film? I was like, yeah.
Wow.
And the second year they went on tour, they sold out every night.
Wow.
Every night.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, people, that's what I'm saying, the inside of stuff, people just don't really know what really goes on inside. They just see the results. They don't really know what the process is. I think if you understood the process, it would make the story that much more fun to hear about, So, yeah, I didn't give up on them. They didn't give up on me. They gave me everything they had every night. And then the second year, we all benefited from it.
Wow. And you mentioned your relationship with some more. I saw a picture, a teaser rather, of the Queens of Comedy behind bars. Could you tell us a little bit of what that might consist of?
Absolutely. It's actually Beyond Bars.
Beyond Bars, okay.
And the reason it's called Beyond Bars is we're going to do a special, a Queens of Comedy special with multiple, not just even the original group, but we're going to try to come up with a really solid group where we can do maybe a 90-minute special instead of a 60-minute special.
Okay.
And then interweave that with stories of female inmates who are going to get out. Not inmates who are in there for life or whatever. Some horrible crime. But basically kind of concentrate on domestic violence and things that happen to women that no one ever hears really their story is and what their life is now and what their life could possibly be once they get out. So we want to interview people like that, inmates like that, and kind of intertwine that in the edit. So basically, you wouldn't see that if you were at the show once we were filming, but once you actually watched it, that's what you would be watching in between each comedian. Is, stories of hope and stories of females who actually got a bad break, but if you got an opportunity to do something with their life, or the second half of their life.
Absolutely, take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's all you hear in the news, man. You hear about domestic violence, but you never hear from the woman.
Right, exactly.
You hear about the guy who did it.
Right. which is a crazy part. Now, I was on this. It wasn't a Hulu app. It wasn't Netflix. It's had a lot of your content on it. I want to say it's Tubi ITV or Tubi.
It's pronounced Tubi, but it's Tubi TV.
Tubi TV.
And it's one of the first apps that it's like Apple TV, and it's like Google's thing that they have. I forgot the name of it, but it's not a device. It's actually already installed in TVs.
Wow.
So when you buy smart TVs from this day forward, I think everybody's going to have their device installed automatically in TVs. But Tubi is one of the first ones to do that. So they approached us about, taking all of our content and putting it on their smart TVs. So that's what we're doing. What I want to do, if I have a sign, that's the biggest sign that I can hang in my office right now. Mm-hmm. My goal is to have the largest footprint for urban comedy on all devices.
Wow.
So I don't care how many, if Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, AOL, you name it, I want to be on it. And I want to have the most content on it as far as urban comedy. Mm-hmm. And be the biggest supplier of that. If you see it, that's where it came from us.
It came from you.
There may be a couple of other people doing it, but they're not doing it everywhere at the magnitude in which we're doing it. So that's kind of where we changed. We don't do tours anymore because that's not the future. The people, I have a 17-year-old kid, I have a 26-year-old kid, and they do everything on their smartphone or iPad.
Right, that's true. That's very true.
They don't even watch TV.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Understanding the future, is to be in business 25 years and counting for me, mm-hmm. to be in business that long, you have to understand how it is evolving. And then you have to figure out how you fit, where do I fit in that? So I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not trying to do something I don't know how to do. I'm just doing it the way it's being done now. And the way it's being done now is digital.
Exactly.
That's the future.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm doing.
We were talking about pre-meeting about this interview, and they Googled your name, and they said, "Wow, he's a mogul. He is who?" They was like, "I haven't." He is a mogul. They was like, "Is it Stan Latham?" I'm like, "No, it's not Stan Latham." They was like, "Is it Samai?" I was like, "No." Are they related? It was like he's actually a mogul, and we were watching a video on YouTube, and then it led me to Tubi TV, and I saw, I guess it was a pilot episode or maybe the first episode of a series. It was Ricky Smiley, Earthquake, Niecy Nash, and Tyler Perry was on it. What was that, and why did we get more of it?
You have to call Fox. Man, that was such that was a moment that could change history, really. Me and Tyler started working together in 02, because he wanted to expand. He also understood, I'm doing my plays and it's doing okay, but nobody really knows me outside of, the chitlin circuit. So can you help me establish myself in Hollywood? And I agreed because I liked him, and I still like him, and I thought he was very talented. So one of the things we did together to try to do that is we went to Fox and we sold them a pilot, show, basically like a Saturday Night Live, but it was going to be more theatrical because most of those guys are improv type people. They're not your SNL type people. So that's why the show kind of looks a little different and feels a little different. But I mean, we had Niecy Nash, we had Tyler Perry, we had Earthquake, Ricky Smiley, we had so many people, other people too that I can't even name. Everybody was a part of that show, and they supposedly wanted to go with us and take us serious, but they chose Cedric's variety show, the 10% show or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, they chose that because they felt that they could market it more, and I'm like, y'all just gave up on the most talented man in Hollywood.
Wow.
They could have had him like before anyone else knew about him.
Before TBS really even got him. Wow.
Yep.
That's
so again, those are stories that people just don't know about.
And that's the great part about talking to someone like you who's been through a lot. We had Rodney Perry in the studio not too long ago, and he gave us stories about Monique and different comedians that we would never know. And that's one of the things I really wanted to do this interview with you, because I get some in-depth stories. If you ever pass through Jacksonville, I would love it if you stopped by the J.U. Dolphin Radio Studio. We didn't even got to do an interview. I would just like to hear just stories that you have about my favorite comedians. You have stories about DL and Steve and Cedric, and you working with K-Dub out of Atlanta, and you're doing different things on YouTube now.
Yeah.
So
I love Kelly Walker, K-Dub. I think I worked with him twice. I mean, we did actually 3 times. I worked with him on Bad Boys of Comedy, and I think he was on Comedy After Dark, and then he did a show for my YouTube channel called Arguments, which I thought was incredibly innovative.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I mean, he was just talented. Just a matter of time. Certain people you see, like, why they haven't blown up yet? It's timing.
Exactly.
Timing.
Exactly.
Kevin Hart is timing. He wouldn't have happened probably 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
But now, there's a void in the market. There's social media where you can become like, your voice is bigger, your footprint is bigger. Everything is bigger. Eddie Murphy had Twitter.
Yeah.
And Instagram. And he was, off of Beverly Hills Cop. He would have been the biggest thing ever in history.
Absolutely.
He just didn't have that then. So you were limited. But now it's unlimited. The amount of people you can reach and how fast you can reach them. So, good for him, man. I'm happy for anybody African American that can do it out there in Hollywood, where it's rare for us to even get opportunities. I'm happy for them.
Absolutely. And now there was a writer's block about 10 years ago in Hollywood. And now there's a lot of more African American shows on television. You have your Empires, you have your Scandals, you have How to Get Away with Murder, you have The Soul Man, which is the Cedric show. Have you ever thought about going to television with a sitcom? You have like your Will Packers who's in television now. Have you ever thought about converting over to doing a sitcom or something on television?
Yeah, let me answer this. Let me let this thing go. I think the fire truck is on by. Yeah, I actually probably for the first 5 years, right after we made our movie, I was on the Paramount lot. I had a deal with them, and I looked at scripted movies, obviously scripted television shows, and we did the one pilot for Fox. But for me, I like the immediacy of live.
Gotcha.
Of events, something that I can think of today. Make some calls. In 8 weeks we're filming. There's no script to be developed, no writers to deal with, and that's cool. I love what Will and all those cats are doing. They're taking advantage of the opportunity, because I'm telling you, we're not going to get it all the time. So right now we're in. Olivia Pope made us popular. She made us the thing.
Right.
Then Empire followed that up and verified, okay, wait a minute. Black people will watch other black people on TV. So, let's find more of that. And they're in the position to do that because that's what they do. They do scripts. They work with writers all the time. And that's fantastic. I chose, that was a choice that I made. I don't really enjoy it. I don't enjoy, reading script after script, rewriting it, finding new writers, going back to the studio, getting their opinion. I'm not into that.
Gotcha.
Whatever I like to do and want to do, I want to do it. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's fine with me too, because I did what I love to do and I did what I wanted to do. And I did it on my own dime, So my business model is a little different than a lot of those guys.
Gotcha.
So I'm happy doing it my way. I'm quite certain that they're happy doing it their way.
Absolutely. So what can we expect coming down the pike for you now? We know that you have the Queens of Comedy Beyond Bars coming soon. We know that you did a deal with YouTube for your comedy after dark. So what else could we expect? Because I'm anxious as a fan.
Well, we're working with Hulu a lot here recently. We just got the Hulu channel about 12 months ago. They just figured out what they were doing as a platform, and now that they're looking to do originals. So AOL is doing channels like YouTube was doing 4 years ago. So we're working with them.
Okay.
We're working with Hulu on doing some new originals and some making some new episodes of our other shows. So we want to make new episodes of Comedy After Dark. We want to make new episodes of Shaking Not Stirred.
Right.
And again, continue to try to get on as many. Cinedom is another company that we're dealing with. You may not have heard of them, but you will, because they're doing a lot to try to rival Netflix and Hulu. So along with continuing to, like I said, increase our footprint on all of these different platforms, try to make more of the shows that I like to make, which are more live type shows like Shaking Not Stirred, Queens Beyond Bars. Queens Beyond Bars is just a matter of saying, when do we want to shoot it?
Wow.
Really. It's not, I don't have to get anybody's approval, and that part of the business is worth it to me.
Gotcha.
It's worth that to do it the way I like to do it. So I don't really count my success in numbers. I count my success by the joy I get from doing what I do and the careers that flourish. Based on the fact that they work with me. I love it, man. It's awesome to see Steve. It's crazy. I never would imagine. Family Feud. He got his own talk show. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And I gotta believe that some of those opportunities came because we worked together. We did something pretty special together.
Absolutely.
So that's where I get my fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Out of the whole business.
Well, we appreciate you for calling in with us today. We definitely want to get back with you after the Queens of Comedy Beyond Bars touchdown. If you were ever in the Jacksonville area, please stop by. I will pick your brain all day if you allow me to.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, I'll do that. I'm looking forward to doing that, man. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. I appreciate it again.
No problem. Take care.
Definitely. Absolutely. Mr. Walter Latham, everybody.